Hello!
And welcome to the Bechdel Theatre podcast.
The podcast where we talk about gender and representation on stage.
I'm Pippa.
And I'm Beth. And we're your hosts.
So welcome to another extremely special episode of the Bechdel Theatre podcast. One that we have been so excited for a very long time. We've got some wonderful guests.
It is a bumper episode. Bumper.
But before we get into who our wonderful guests are, you may have been able to tell from the title. Anyway, what have we been up to, Beth, in the Bechdel Theatre universe?
Kind of Bechdel-y things, you know.
Just casually. So obviously Fun Home started this
last
last month.
The musical, which is about some woman called Alison Bechdel.
Who's she?
Only the person that inspires everything we do, Pippa. In every way.
I'm joking. Of course I know who she is. But did you know that we got to meet her?
Oh my God! We did. We got to hang out with the real Alison Bechdel herself. We went to see Fun Home, and then afterwards Kaiser, who plays main Alison in Fun Home, was like, you have to meet Alison Bechdel, and like pushed us towards Alison Bechdel.
So we obviously, like, we were there at the press night and we kept seeing her, like, talking to people, you know, she's a wanted woman, and like giving speeches at the end of the show and stuff, and obviously we kept seeing her and we were like, oh no, like, who are we, like, we shouldn't, how can we go up to her?
I don't want to interrupt.
And then and then we were speaking to Kaiser, and then she was just like, Alison, you need to meet these women, and like, pushed us towards us, and we were just like, honestly, yeah. I'm going to dine out on this story for so long.
She's just the biggest hero ever.
She was
and lovely. She was like, tell me more about what you do. And we were like, blah, blah, we can't even speak.
Yeah. And then she asked for a badge.
She did. She asked, can I have a badge? And we had the last badges of our last batch that we had printed. And I was like, take one off of my breast. And so then Alison Bechdel wore the badge that I had on my breast, on her extremely suave blazer that she was wearing. It's kind of a tux style, like silky. Anyway, sorry.
Take a moment there. Take a moment.
Anyway, and then she just heard all about Bechdel Theatre.
Yeah, and
I was like, I hope you don't mind us using your name to do all the stuff we do. And she's like, of course.
Oh
so, you know, verified.
Oh, amazing. So if you want to see, we actually managed to get a selfie with her, which is plastered all over our social medias. So go on there if you want to see us, like, just like trying to act normal in front of Alison. And yeah, we've also got the wonderful Sherelle Skeet, who plays Joan in Fun Home later on in this episode.
As if that Alison Bechdel story wasn't enough. We have somebody who's actually in Fun Home at the moment, being interviewed by us, and we tried to keep a little bit more calm than when we were in the room with Alison Bechdel. We're like pretty chill with Sherelle. So we've got Sherelle Skeet. Who else have we got? We've got two wonderful honeys from the Hot Brown Honey Collective. The amazing Hot Brown Honey, who we've talked about loads on this podcast before. So this is a real coup of guests.
Yeah, so they are back in London with their show at Southbank Centre, but also with a brand new show, Hive City Legacy, on at the Roundhouse. And we got to interview Yami Lofvenberg and Lisa Falafi at the Roundhouse to talk about this new Femmes Of Colour Hive City Legacy show.
It sounds like it's going to be immense. We're going to see it tonight, so we will report back, but I think it's going to be incredible.
Insane. What else have we been up to, Beth?
We had Pride.
Pride.
As if Fun Home wasn't gay enough.
I know, we've had like the gayest week. we had Pride. There was also UK Black Pride, which was on Sunday, which was amazing.
We went to see the LOL Word comedy.
We went to see the LOL Word. Shout out to those wonderful, wonderful women. They will be going to Edinburgh, so we'll tag them, but make sure to check them out. It's like queer women stand-up comedy.
We had a fundraiser.
We had our fundraiser. Who came to that?
Thanks for coming.
Our fundraiser, which was Drag to Watch Out For, which was obviously inspired by Alison Bechdel's essential Dykes to Watch Out For comic book strip book. And we had a drag king show, some other cabaret performers as well on at Styx, which was amazing.
Shout out to Styx, thanks for having us.
Shout out to Styx and all the wonderful performers. They were brilliant. We included a raffle, and we kickstarted basically our crowdfunding to manage to get us to the Fringe.
So yeah, this is our last episode before we will be at the Edinburgh Fringe for next month.
Oh my God, before the mayhem begins.
Yeah, it just feels like it never stops. The mayhem never stops.
No. That's our intro. I don't think we need to say anything more because we just want to hand over to our wonderful guests. As per, stick around to the end where we can talk about the feminist faves of our guests and also upcoming shows that we recommend.
See ya!
But now, over to the Roundhouse.
Bye. Hi everybody! This month, we are at Roundhouse. Roundhouse in a backstadio. So we've got a little bit of a drum kit in the background. It's always something different in the background and back down here to podcast when we're on the road. And we are here with two people from the wonderful Hot Brown Honey. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name's Lisa Fatlafi. I'm the director of Hot Brown Honey and performer also, and the director of Hive City Legacy, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is exciting.
And I'm Yami, Rowdy Lofvenberg, and I'm the assistant director of Hive City Legacy.
Cool. Great. Thank you very much.
So Hive City Legacy is your brand new show, which says that you kind of scoured London through loads of different applicants for new emerging Femmes of Colour performers, activists with a range of skills. Something that because we find ourselves talking about a lot is language and how that's changing and how different ways of describing ourselves as kind of culture and politics change. And femme, I find, is a word that is constantly evolving. The first question we wanted to ask you is, Femmes of Colour, like how do you relate to the word femme, or what does that mean for you, and why do you choose that word?
I think for us, why we chose the word is that we wanted this to be open to people who, however they identify, like we're very, we wanted it to be multiple stories of what it is to be a black woman, black person who identifies as female, black they, them, other. So that was part of the reason why we chose the word. And it's funny because arriving here, we realised that the term is slightly different, means differently in Australia than to here. So, some might say that femme is like someone who's a feminine person. So we've had to pull that apart with the cast also. So that's been interesting in itself for us to choose that word, thinking that it was open and whether that worked as a key lead in. And then also just, like you said, the changing meaning around that word and what that means. So actually we're like decolonizing and pulling that word apart ourselves as part of this creative process. So yeah, I'm not sure we've decided what it means, it's like it's open.
It means it is kind of changes and people can identify with it in different ways. And
yep.
I think here I knew it as kind of like butch and femme identities from the lesbian community, and it's really interesting to hear that it has kind of slightly different meanings in Australia. How you're bringing that over here.
And I think it's different as well when it comes to dance terms. In dance terms, it's someone who dances really feminine, and it might be heels, it might be like a routine in heels. Do you know what I mean? And you can be a guy dancing in routine in heels, and it's like a femme routine or whatever. So I think it's just it's open. I think for everyone to take it and take control of it however they want to take control of it.
I love that. I love how open it is. So talking about Australia, obviously kind of you're coming over here and working with Femmes of Colour who are presumably predominantly London based or at least British based. How kind of does it work or compare, or what's your experience of working with women of colour from Australia compared to the experiences of women of colour in the UK or in London?
I think there are just universal things that affect all of us. So in that way, we have a basis, a language, an understanding, a shared experience to then create work together, even though, I've been taught heaps of terms and heaps of different slangs or saying the wrong thing that means something totally different here.
Like what?
I can't think, I know, I knew you were going to ask me that. I can't think right at the minute, but yeah, it's been, I think what we're finding interesting being in the room, so Eleanor is also here, Eleanor Wangura, she's in the cast of Hot Brown Honey. So we've been interesting to hear all of the participants talk about their experience here and what it's like to live here. Because when we arrive, it feels like we are surrounded by black, brown and mixed people. Because in Australia, we are such a small community, really. The Indigenous population is something like 2% or so. It's very small now, through genocide, through colonisation, those sort of things. So I think, it's and yet the cast also feeling like their stories not being heard. And so for us, it's like, but there's so, the population seems so much bigger here. Why are your stories not out there? So that's interesting that is still a similarity, that on our stages there aren't enough black, brown and mixed people. Our stories are not being told, and then it's the same here. I mean, universally, I know we don't have the representation on television, movies, all the things. So it's I'm glad that the Roundhouse has seen that is also a thing that we need to keep working on and supporting this project.
That the want was there, and some of the stories obviously merged into each other. We all kind of suffer from similar things, stereotypes and all that stuff that happens within the community. So it's hard to actually pick up the stories that is valid, because all of them are valid. But I think that what we tried to do was collaborate and make those stories kind of like become merged, but at the same time, include everyone's feelings. And we all have issues with, hair, people touching your hair. We all have issues with people staring at you at the tube, no matter, where you're from. You have this kind of like weird tube kind of code in the UK where you don't look each other in the eye, because that's like creepy. So, one of the stories is about just how people, black people feel, or people of color feel on the tube, and sort of like talking about that. And, from that came a little bit of other stories. And so it is stories, but also, collaborated stories.
Yeah, I think, in a way, in a short process, we have chosen some broader issues, whether it's, from racism and microaggressions to, colorism. So we've discussed all the things, and that helped us bond as a company as well, because there was lots of sharing about our experiences of living everyday life, and all their personalities are so different, which is part of why we chose them all, like to really say, look how different we can be. Don't put us in one box over here where you must play the maid or the victim or the the perpetrator. Let's look at the variety, just as in 9 women, or 9 femmes. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing.
It reminds me of what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, I think the amount of applicants that you had for this kind of says a lot about the presence that you have, and that how kind of visible, especially I'm thinking about the Edinburgh Fringe where we've discovered your work, like the kind of sense of community that's created around the Hot Brown Honey show, and like the sense of kind of inclusivity in the room when you walk into that show, and when you go out and you see all of the kind of merchandise around it, all of the like matching outfits that you wear walking around the streets. It just feels so it's so wonderfully like visible and celebratory. That's exactly it. Yeah. And so I feel like that's why you've got all of these applicants going, I don't know what it is we're going to be making, but we're going to be working with these people, and that means it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be supportive, and it's going to be like positive, and not playing that, any stereotypes or any of that kind of thing.
I mean, like I too would have applied if I saw the application, just because to be a part of something where I can either be me or celebrate my stories, as opposed from reliving my trauma to on stage continuously. Like, of course we talk about all those things because they're part of they're a section of our life, but just I mean, and that's the beauty of the Hot Brown Honey, and that's exactly what we wanted to bring to this, is that we do, like, these are our stories, but please, all together we can make change. So that the similar storyline in that way will be in this show. So
yes. And I think it's even from like how we auditioned, I audition, I'm an artist, so I audition a lot for things, and it is always like, that one role that you audition for as a person of color, or you'll try to fit into a role that might not have been described for you. But even how we audition, we ask people to lip sync, and just be free and just be silly, and, trying to create an atmosphere of like, here you can be exactly who you are. And, one girl came in and she's like, I'm just going to skip, because I never get to skip in an audition, and just like randomly start skipping, and then start, rapping, So I think it was the whole thing of like, we want you, we don't want you to fit into anything, we want you. And I think that's a difference, because often you have to try to fit into something else.
Yeah, and it's being so open that it is people bringing what they have to you, rather than saying, we're looking for XYZ. It's like, what do you have available? It might be something I've never even thought of for me. Something that has completely stuck with me since I saw the Edinburgh show was the kind of refrain when you get us all to declare, you know, the revolution will not happen without childcare. And I was wondering if you could talk about how you centre being a parent and being a mother in your performance, which is so rare for any performers to do, especially at somewhere like the Fringe, and how you make that actually really integral and a reason why people should be investing in your work more.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, because we are a female-driven company, and I mean, I don't have any children, even though I'm the one who spooks it at the top of the show. I understand what it is to support women who have children. So I think for us, it's integral, like the whole holistic approach. Like, we want to make work, so how can we ignore that they have children, you know? So why not bring the kids on the road, and how do we do that? Venues love them to death, but they probably can't afford to you know, one day in the future we might get maternity leave in the theatre. Probably not, but we're like, well, we have to work it out ourselves, hence why we, you know, sell merchandise that goes directly towards bringing the children, educating the children, navigating around the country on a world pollination tour with those aspects of everybody's lives. So, you know, I consider myself like, you know, the little bit bossy auntie, but, you know, it's just life. So, and our show is heightened versions of our life, so that has to be in there. Yeah.
Perfect. So we should probably round up with plugs for your upcoming shows, and also the final Feminist Faves question. So if you could let us know any dates where people can see your work, where they can see the Hive City Legacy, and Feminist Faves. Who have you got that inspires you that you want to recommend to the listeners?
So Hive City Legacy, 10th to the 21st of July at the Roundhouse. Tickets are on sale right now. You can go online, buy them. If you don't buy them and you said, I should have gone and see that show, too bad. So buy them now before it sold out and you're asking for people for comps.
Yeah. And then Hot Brown Honey, our next season, is at the Southbank Centre. It's like, woohoo, decolonise and moisturise the Elizabeth.
It's a great venue.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited about that. We're on from the 24th to the 28th, so short season there, and then straight over to Edinburgh Fringe for the full slog, for the full 4 weeks. This is our final year, just letting everyone know. It's our final year at Edinburgh Fringe before it kills us.
Wow.
So check us out there.
And faves. Feminist faves. Well, there's a group called OSHUN at the minute. They're kind of like a hip-hop soul duo, and they're very much about Afrofuturistic sort of vibe. They got awesome outfits. They're rappers. They're female rappers, and like, check them out online. It's really where a rap should be going for females and for rap in general. So just check them out. They're awesome.
Faves would be Cocoa Butter Club, since I'm here in London, which is exciting. And they're even doing a night here as after party vibes, after Hive City Legacy. Friday the 20th, Cocoa Butter Club. So please come and see us at Hive City Legacy, and then hang out with Cocoa Butter Club, which is amazing too, because they've had like sister shows in Melbourne as well. So we've all connected via the internet. So I'm pretty excited to meet everybody here.
And there's going to be stuff happening all along throughout these shows, you know, spoken word nights, you know, events, stuff like that. So just keep checking out, and if you want to come more than once, that's even great. So, you know, it's 2 weeks, so you can come more than once and get your full, you know, pollination.
See different stuff.
July is going to be so full of good stuff.
I know.
Oh my gosh, like, we're already thinking about August Edinburgh, but no, July in London is going to be hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No
we
worries.
can't wait to see the show.
Absolutely.
We're going to recommend it to everyone.
Thank you.
Can't wait. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
So, hello everybody. We are here at the Young Vic Theatre with the wonderful Sherelle Skeet, who is currently playing Joan in Fun Home.
Joan, Joan. Also, do you know that up the road from here there's Joan Street? just by Southwark Station.
Have you taken a selfie?
I haven't taken a selfie yet. I've got to kind of like, I've got to give people things to look forward to, so that's coming.
You're going to go in your Joan costume and like do like a Joan photo shoot by the
On
sign.
Joan Street.
Oh my god, amazing.
Brilliant. We love it. So, playing Joan, this is, for anyone who doesn't know, the role is Alison Bechdel's life story, and the role is the first college girlfriend of Alison. That's like her kind of discovery of her
I call her
sexuality.
coming out coach.
Coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is exactly what she is.
Everyone has a coming out coach, and I'm Alison's. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that. Who was mine?
My very queer mother, you know.
Oh my god, yes. So, playing this very queer mother role, which obviously...
That sounds a bit incestuous. But in a way that is not motherly, but actually more lovely.
Like when you have like a drag mum and they help you into the world.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. We get you.
You know what I mean.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's a great role, and it's obviously history is in reality because it's part of Alison Bechdel's real story, her life story, and then originated in the comic book that she wrote. She wrote a graphic memoir about her coming out story essentially, and Joan featured in that, and then the musical then was adapted by Lisa Crone and Janine Dettori. They've written this amazing musical which went from off-Broadway to Broadway, won all these Tonys.
Went on tour.
It went on tour. It's still touring like all over the world and stuff, isn't it?
I saw that they're opened in Sri Lanka, like...
Oh wow.
I saw Alison
Amazing.
Chefs.
Oh no, wait, I've seen that on her
Did
Twitter.
you see it? I was like, what? That is amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if she went out to see that one. That would be...
I think she said it on her Twitter. Not I follow everything that Alison Bechdel does, or anything. But on the alert, it was like, I'm so sorry I couldn't get out there to see it, because I think she does follow around the show and see it quite a lot.
Of course.
So maybe it wasn't possible to get all the way out.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it's incredible. It's gone so far and touched so many people.
Yeah.
It's got a huge following, both from people who already followed Alison Bechdel's work and musical theatre fans, and fans that are the collision.
It's an amazing
of both of them.
intersection, yeah.
Exactly. So you've stepped into this role of Joan, and what I was wondering is how much in the role of Joan you've had the opportunity to make that part your own, to build up an imaginative world for Joan, because obviously it's semi-based in real life.
I think for me, when I first approached because I didn't know anything about Alison. I think I'd seen her picture and I didn't really connect the dots, or I'd heard of the memoir, the Von Her memoirs, the graphic novel, but again I hadn't connected the dots. I follow this shout out to Butch Please. I was following Butch Please, and they had her picture on I think the front cover of Rolling Stones, and it's Alison Bechdel. Did not connect the dots, and then actually getting the role and then researching her, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, she's this butch icon, because of Dykes to Watch Out For, because of Von Her, and then I was like, okay, cool. And then kind of reading, I think, because obviously it is an adaptation, it's based on the actual graphic novel. I tried not to get too bogged down with trying to be as specific to, basing my character on what was in the graphic novel. For me, I just, as an act, as any script, I base it on just the script, and that is my blueprint. And then anything that I need to find that I'm not getting from the script, then I would go to the graphic novel. I think it would probably be slightly different for all the Alisons, because it's a bit more, there's more clues and it's a bit more concrete who Alison is. With Joan, it's not quite clear. So for me, I always like to start with myself first, and then I think of the kind of the historical context and the circumstances, and then from then you can kind of layer up. So we're in 1980. She's a black, out, proud lesbian. She'll be reading some Audre Lorde, bell hooks. She'll be reading Alice Walker. She'll be reading all of those things. I remember having this conversation with Lisa Crone actually, and I was like, so what's the deal with Colette? What's to do with Colette? I haven't got time to read this book for this really small moment, but obviously it's very significant. And I said, I'll be real with you. I said, my Joan, I don't know if she read Colette, but obviously, like, it's important because there's a moment in the play. So, like, can you? And then she messaged. No, I asked Janine, and then Lisa emailed me, kind of specifying why Colette, and in terms of just the writers of that time were writing. They were kind of talking about, you know, great literature, but they kind of like erased. There was an erasure of homosexuality or kind of like gender fluidity. They were kind of, and I think Colette was one of those that people talked about, this amazing woman, but no one specified the fact that she was queer. Like it was kind of just like, oh yeah, she did all these things, but, you know, kind of let's move on. So when she says, oh yeah, I think she was a lesbian, and then my character says, oh, she was, like, it's an obvious thing, and that became a thing. Well, especially within literature, people kind of re-looking over, like in the graphic novel, she her and Joan look at, like, James and the Giant Peach, and they create, you know, all the amazing kind of sexual you know, kind of looking at it from a lesbian point of view, and James and the Giant Peach is filthy, you know.
Oh my god, I need to reread it.
Yeah, he's in that bit. Yeah. And I was like, so that was basically in terms of, like, if you look at it through the eyes of a lesbian, and then look at a lot of you know, just kind of even children's books like James the Giant Peach, and, you know, that's what they did. They kind of stayed in bed for 3 days and read lots of literature and did other things. So yeah, my Joan, I really, because I absolutely love Audre Lorde and Sister Outsider, and I really kind of just thought, well, in this time in 1980, to be a really proud butch lesbian is such a statement, and to be black on top of that, and then, you know, that what the whole kind of, I feel like my character is such an outsider to you know, middle Alison, who she sees as this very kind of awkward, quite middle class white girl, but there's something really that's other about Joan's experience that she finds really interesting and really endearing, and that she does, and for me, I want my Joan really wants her to see how beautiful she is, and that to be butch is beautiful, and that you deserve to be loved, and yeah, like that's for me was always the thing, in that if things didn't go well, I mean, it's awkward, but if things didn't go well, if she genuinely didn't have a love connection with Joan, then she would have stayed in the closet, you know. If she kind of ridiculed her for not knowing all the things that maybe middle Alison felt as though that she should have known, then she wouldn't have. She has to really encourage her, like, it's okay, like, you can be you in all of this, like, I'm just being me, you know.
I just got chills.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's
like
really,
the way she
said that
finds...
to Alice, I said that to the real Al, you know, as well, you know.
Yeah, the way she finds her kind of naivety really endearing, rather than making fun of her or, like, being like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and kind of showing off to her. She really guides her.
It's a guiding, and that's really important, especially, you know, she can see that she is trying, you know, but there's a game in that as well. Like, she can see what's going on, she just observes everything, and she can see that she needs just a little coax every now and then, just a little coax.
Yeah, she's very, she comes across as very intuitive to how Joan's feeling, and I wonder what Joan's story is in terms of that, because she is, I just get her, like, you just feel like Joan comes in and she knows exactly who she is. She's very proud, she's a very strong character, she's very open about her sexuality and who she is. You know, there's an amazing song in the show Ring of Keys, which is when little Alison sings about seeing, like, the first butch lesbian that she's ever seen, and she's like, oh my god, and she had this ring of keys, and it's like this amazing song of, like, representation, and, like, oh, what that moment is when you feel recognised, or you feel like you're represented in another person as a minority. How far along do you think Joan is when she meets Alison, and where is she on her kind of journey?
So in my head, I feel like she is older than her, so she's probably been at Oberlin College maybe 2 years before, like a year before, and so she knows, you know, the queer scene is so small, so you know who's been with who's ex with who, and it's just a really tight-knit web. So when she's asking her, so who have you been with, you know, it's like, I don't know, who was that with in the library? Yeah, in the books. Oh wow, you know. So I think it's so interesting. It's not really linear to the story, but for me, there's a book called Gloria, and it's set in Jamaica in like I say, it's not linear towards Joan's storyline, but in terms of, I would imagine that it would be something like this. So in the story, in the book Gloria, the novel, it's set in Jamaica during the 1950s, and this particular character, Gloria, runs away from her hometown in a small village, and she runs away to Kingston. Anyway, sorry, there's a point to this. There is a point to this. I know I'm kind of running off, but she ends up somehow being part of like a brothel. At first, she's just kind of helping out. It's 1950s Jamaica, so there's lots of like riots, and there was a point where the country was actually on the verge of becoming communist, like Cuba. There's a lot of like a lot of social justice, a lot of people organising, and women organising as well. And for the first time, this specific character, she finds her voice once she runs away, and she actually commutes with these sex workers, these prostitute women, these sex workers. And at first, like she's kind of like, they're bad women, and I just need to earn some money, and then I need to go. And then she realises how they're able to support one another, and I suppose the strength and liberation in community, and then she sees the genuine connection and love that these women have, and she sees the two of these sex workers are in a relationship, and then she doesn't know what to call it at that time, but I think because there wasn't a word for it, I don't know if there was a word for it back then, but it was just something that was so kind of revolutionary in love. And I think for me, Joan, I think she probably comes from like an inner city, and yeah, I really pictured that she would have seen that. She would have seen, I don't know, maybe not necessarily a sex worker, but something that is so kind of for women that are on the fringes of society, for her to then feel as though that she wanted to then be an activist, go into student politics and stuff like that, and be part of the gay union, because she's seen how, on a very small scale in terms of her community, how it has helped evolve people. Just like, I'm reading this book called, All About Love by Bell Hooks, and how we all need love. I don't know if that, I know I'm not saying there's not a specific moment, but I think it's more about her seeing it in her community, like
in a sort of more everyday way than Alison, where it was all shut away behind closed doors.
It was probably like an everyday, exactly, that it was more like like just some like there might be those two older women that you see that you kind of, they were just friends and they were living together,
gal pals,
and then one day kind of just like it would have dawned on her, oh no, they're actually not, they're lovers,
I mean, we grew up in Brighton, so I'm sure both of us have like a similar experience to that kind of story, where like your parents' friends are all kind of, there are a lot of same-sex relationships around, and it just doesn't seem as like sort of shocking as it might do in like small town Pennsylvania, where Alison's character's from, as somewhere in a city where there are kind of more like different types of people and backgrounds who are being accepted. So it definitely makes sense to see where Joan comes from in that context.
I feel like you can see that even in like the way she walks, like, oh, that lesbian swag that Joan has. I'm like, I want to learn how to walk like that.
The confidence. And also I guess she's gone to college in like Ohio, where she meets Alison, so she might be a bit of a big fish in that college, in terms of if she does come from like a big city and she's like more worldly than probably a lot of the others that
read all the books.
Exactly. That's where she gets that confidence from.
I feel like, and when she goes around Alison's house, and she knows exactly how to behave with the parents. She's like, I'm going to help your mum make dinner, I'm going to polish the cutlery. Like, she's done this before.
I think she's done it before. I think she's been I think there's, honestly, I think Joan is one of those lesbians that likes being the first. She likes finding the fresh ones, the new lesbians, and she does get confidence in that. It's like, go and live your gay life. you know.
It's such a beautiful thing.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, you're just searching out these new lesbians, Joan, you know. But
but Joan will reach her 30s and settle down. Yeah, probably.
In my head, I always thought that she was polyamorous, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah, I thought that she's so out there in terms of like what love is. She'll take it in all forms.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Which probably, I reckon, would become a problem in her and Alison's relationship.
Yeah.
So in my head, I feel like Alison will probably be monogamous, and Joan's like,
Alison would be
where's the Netflix TV show?
the Joan spin-off. That reminds me, they need to make a Netflix programme out of Dyke to Watch Out For.
Yeah,
I
we've
said
spoken about
this
this,
before. Dyke to Watch Out For would be the best series because it's such a sitcom. Like all of those, in the way that like Fun Home is such a well-rounded story with a really clear trajectory and a mirroring of her and her father and a beginning and a middle and an end, and the coming out story being the crux of it. Dykes to Watch Out For is kind of in a way the opposite of that, because it depicts more of those moments like that one that you see in the graphic novel between Joan and Alison where they're talking about James and the Giant Peach. It's like their commentary on like pop culture. They're like moments of just quiet jokes in bed together, just like lying around doing like normal stuff, having their little
dinner,
they're cooking dinner.
That's what I love about the Dykes to Watch Out For as well, is that you just see them like doing things like, they're just being naked in bed and like maybe like, I don't know, like having a fag or like having a smoke or having a chat, and you're just like, this is like real life, like, and you don't get that in so
and you get to know them, and you get, in the same way that you do with the long-running TV series, you get to get all the little in-jokes about their character traits, and you're like, that's such a Mo thing to do. I love it so much.
Sorry, I feel like we've gone on a bit of a tangent.
No, I think this is really helping me to connect, and I don't know if it does connect for you, but Joan's character with the role that I've seen you in previously in The Phlebotomist, which was at Hampstead Theatre, and was a brilliant new play, so it's maybe slightly different to working on an adaptation. I don't know if you want to say anything about your experience.
Yeah, it is slightly different. I think even though we had the creatives team's responsibility was for them to kind of unpack this box, which is this wonderful play that's so special and like so fragile, and it's a little powerful thing. Like, it's 90 minutes of, you think it's going to be something and it just takes you off to other places. So their job was to unpack this thing which we've only just experienced and they've had in their lives for almost 10 years, you know. That is not easy. And so there's almost like there is a reverence that we have to have of like, okay, well, we know this works, we need to make sure we don't F it up, do you know what I mean? Like, so let's not F it up. So there's that pressure. I felt like I didn't have as much pressure, like I say, because like I felt like I had a lot more freedom in terms of what, because you know it's a white lady with blonde hair and glasses in the comic book. That is not me. So I was very honest with Lisa. I was like, my Joan is this and this, like, and she was like, yeah, of course, and they cast me as the part for a reason, so I trust that. Obviously the Alison Bechdel character is so specific, you know, and it really has to be, that is so rooted in, you know, to see then the comparison with Bruce the father, you know, and even with those characters are so specific. So even though them as you know, the wonderful cast we have to put our hands into this glove that you know, we have to still find our way, our own process to get there. With the new writing, it almost feels like we've got our writer there with us, and if things don't quite work, we can change things. We'll try it out. If it doesn't work, lines getting cut. Like, we don't have that in this. Like, we have to work with it because we already know that it works. Like, we're still kind of developing the piece with the new writing, like with the writer, with what works, what needs to be added, what is a bit too superfluous, and it needs to go, you know, like, so there's those things.
Obviously they were really different productions that I've seen you in, Phlebotomist and Fun Home, because they had this different process behind them, a different history behind them.
Right.
But I felt like I could see a link. Obviously it's the same person playing two different characters, but I could see a link between Shah in The Phlebotomist and Joan in Fun Home, in the way that they both have this confidence that we were talking about before, but they're also very vocal political activists as well. And I wondered if that was something that you noticed or connected with.
It's so interesting. I always say this to like my other actor friends. It's like some of the roles that you end up going for, there's like this life imitating art thing. It's very, very, very strange, and there's something about when you like when I went into the audition for The Phlebotomist, for example, and I read the script and I just was like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. If I don't get this gig, I'm definitely going to just watch it because this is my thing. And I remember at the time I'd done we were talking about blood, and we'd recently done some fundraising for Through Black Trust, the organisation that I run. I suppose my own activist work. We were raising some money for Sickle Cell Society. So I was talking about, how that, I always like to, start from a place of truth. So how I can connect to the themes in the play and how I can understand them in my life right now, and it's the same thing with Joan, like being, I recently came out to my mom, and that was a thing, but having to reimagine and seeing that confidence in really proud out lesbians, like Stacey Ann Chin, she's my favourite feminist, and I'm going to get onto that for the moment. She's my favourite feminist at the moment. But kind of looking at these confident, really out proud lesbians, older women actually, even the younger ones as well, but there's something that I kind of looked at, like what is it about them? It's them being clear in their voice, in their politics, and them being unapologetic, and I think both of those characters have traces of that, and it's something that I'm looking for in my life as well, always trying to find truth even when it hurts, but with Shah and with Joan, I think there's something about these women, they've had to, Shah's having to fight, she goes and fights for activism and, parts of this underground chain kind of to liberate people. And the same with Joan, she wants Alison to have her voice, to use her voice. And I suppose, the connection obviously is being me, but also I always feel like, with any character, whether the character's got one line or a whole monologue, how can I bring myself, how can I honour the character, even if it's a character that isn't necessarily as confident as I am, why is that? But I think maybe it's where I'm at right now, where Sherelle's at.
Part happy coincidence, part you bringing yourself to the part, part maybe what's attracted you to those roles and made you really go in that audition. This is the one.
And it's so fun to, I always feel like I don't want to let the butches down when I step out of that stage door and they're like, oh my gosh, she's so femme. She's so femme, but but Joan is so butch and proud. And when I'm wearing, the moment I put on my costume, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to the gym, want to get some big muscles.
Your hair as well. Do you normally wear your hair like that?
I have worn my hair. It's so funny because my hair was actually going to be out in an afro.
Oh, really?
David wanted me to have my hair out in an afro, and then they were like, actually, let's see what it's like up. So I did it up, and he was like, great. And I was like, I can do a fro hook. Yes, brilliant.
I didn't know that.
So I did a fro hook. And that's become my Joan. And then such a unique look. And I think it's great because it's the 80s, 1980, and the moment I put on my rings and I'm like, I've got my shirt on, I'm like, I'm in Joan swag.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I feel like your character in Harry Potter. Sherelle was also in Harry. Have you spoken about this yet?
No.
No. Sherelle was also in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, playing Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger's daughter Rose. Is that right?
That's right, Rose Granger Weasley.
Yes. Mm-hmm. First of all, how was that? Because stepping into something so huge,
but originating the part.
But exactly.
Yeah. You know what? With any of these roles, I kind of I literally go for the audition with the least amount of knowledge, because I think sometimes it's just good to just take it from what's on the paper and just like, do I like this? Did I enjoy the experience of auditioning? I cannot think about what it's going to lead to because I didn't know it was going to be as big as it was, like, you know. And even at the very, very beginning, I didn't even quite know what I was auditioning for, because there was so much, like...
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't tell you?
Not properly. Like, I knew it was something to do with Harry Potter, but I didn't 100%... Like, they were all kind of... There was a lot of mystery around it. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm just going to go in. And then after you find out, and you're like, okay, going for the workshop, okay, cool. And then you meet J.K. Rowling, and she's there, and you've got to read in front of you. Yeah, I met her a few times. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is kind of important, you know. She's kind of handed over her story, you know. She's allowed someone else to continue writing part of her this universe that she's created, you know. So yeah, with Rose, I was just like, Rose.
Listeners,
I'm showing my tattoo because this is how much she means to me, playing her. Like, I didn't realise it was going to be such a big deal, and I think in terms of visibility it was huge, you know. All the stuff that came out once, you know, it was announced that Noma was playing Hermione, and it was like, whoa, this barrage of just people that thought they couldn't handle the fact that Hermione Granger, there might be little girls around the world that might also want to see themselves as Hermione Granger, and there were a lot of people that really struggled with that. So I saw that, and that was really scary, you know. I've not done a job that's, I suppose, as kind of like high profile as that. So I was quite happy just like doing my thing on social media, messaging friends, and then all of a sudden overnight there was just thousands of followers that followed me, which is kind of scary, because you're just like, yeah. And so I disappeared off social media for like 3 weeks, and then I came back, and then I thought, okay, how can I honour this part? And then I thought about, you know, visibility is really important. So it's important that I am there, and it's important that I use my voice and my platform. So what I started to do was, on social media, I started to have Fan Art Friday. So I thought, I don't want it to just, it's not about me, it's about Rose and what and Hermione and what it means to all the people around the world, and people who've got through difficult times because of these books, you know, and they finally get to meet this new character. So I thought, so people started to make fan art. So what I started to do was literally just, my thing was, I'm going to bombard images with this little black girl with 2 afro puffs, who's a little witch, you know, who's on her way to Hogwarts, and this is going to be a normal thing. So I thought, once you get a barrage of these images, it becomes normalised. And that's basically what I started to do. Every Friday I'd do Fan Art Friday, and people would at me, and I would just share it, and it would mean that it would reach the wider public, you know. I remember doing I got up at stupid o'clock in the morning to do we had a Skype call with this school in Calcutta? It was in Calcutta, yeah, it was in Calcutta, India. These girls, and they'd read all of the books, and the teacher had got in contact with me over Instagram, and it was like kind of like a little assembly. So yeah, and then the teacher sent me pictures and stuff like that, and then when you see things like that, you're like, yeah, it's not about me. It's not about me, it's about, you know, and then the teacher's talking about, you know, the issues of colorism, and a lot of these girls are from, you know, really poor, and their education won't extend past a certain age, you know, and they have to go home and help their families and stuff like that. So for them, knowing that there was a brown woman and a brown girl that were playing these really smart characters that were just kicking ass, it meant a lot to them. And that, for me, that's what it's about. That's the power of visibility. If it can reach a tiny little school, to these girls in Calcutta, India, I'm like, yes, it's really not about me. That's the power of visibility. And if you're constantly used to seeing yourself, and if you're not used to seeing yourself, you need to hear those stories as well, to know that actually we are all privileged, and that it's really important for all of us to kind of acknowledge our privilege. The thing is, with privilege, it's invisible, isn't it? We never know we've got it until someone says, you're really privileged, or something. Even for me, you know, the privilege that I carry, you know. And then, yeah, with that, I was like, yeah, I have to use it. So, yeah.
I think that's an excellent segue into, I wanted to ask you about Blacktress, and if you could tell our listeners what that is, because you've mentioned it, but do you want to tell us?
So Blacktress UK we've been going for, about just over a year, and we're a network and support group for Black women actors, self-defining, Black women actors. What we found that within the industry or the world of Black women actors is that there's like a silent. Black women are kind of on they're not used to. They've been told that their voices, it doesn't matter, and they've also been told that they should be grateful. And also because of there's a lack of visibility, and so because of that there is a whole generation of women that are unacknowledged. We've got Carmen Monroe, who for me should be honoured in the same way that Dame Judi Dench is, but the reality is not that. She gets offered smaller parts and less money, and the reality is they always talk about this whole kind of talent drain that's going to the US. It's because they're unfortunately in this country there is we're really behind, and I don't even like the word diversity, but it's a word that we use that is so we can all understand, I suppose. But I'm interested in inclusivity. So with Blacktress, it's a safe space. So we run workshops as well as meetups, because a lot of the times a lot of Black women actors are not seeing each other until they're going into the audition room, or and remember they've possibly had to navigate quite toxic spaces where they're facing both sexism as well as racism at the same time, and then on top of that you're then having to go into the industry where it's just kind of rife, and our stories are not being told. We're often on the fringes. So I mean, I think a big example of that is how how the treatment and the towards Noma when it was announced that she was going to play Hermione. That's the kind of thing that happens, and it's like as much as that happened, there was an incredible force of support that came with the negativity as well, where people spoke up on social media and said actually she's a brilliant actress and that the best person got the part, full stop, so with Blacktress we have monthly meetups, and the last workshop we did actually was for Tallow First, which is we did a workshop on energising esteem, which was taught by Zena Edwards, and the workshops are everyone needs to have a safe space, so the workshops are for Black women only, but we explore different themes that are kind of really about healing spaces. So the last one was called Energising Esteem and Art Journaling, and just kind of talking about some of the issues that are affecting Black women, for example, like misogynoir and colorism, and just the lack of self-esteem, and connecting to one's voice, both technically on a technical level as an actor, but also for self, the canvas that we're putting the character on top of,
So how do people, if they're like, oh my god, I've never heard of Blacktress, how do I get involved?
Okay, if you want to get involved, so like if you want to become a friend of Blacktress, follow us on all the social medias. So Blacktress_UK on Twitter. The Instagram is specifically for Black women actors, so if you are a Black woman actor, follow us on it's a closed group. Follow us on Instagram, Blacktress_UK. We're also on Facebook. That is also open to everyone. It's inclusive of everyone, and we do have events that are specifically for Black women, but also events that are in support of people that are in support of Black women actors as well. So the last event we had was for International Women's Day and Picanda, so we did a fundraising thing where we had a screening for Black Panther, and that was open to everybody down at Peck and Plex.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Plex is the
Peck and Plex, £5. Oh my gosh, amazing. And that was amazing. And then International Women's Day, we were raising money for Refuge, and it was great. We had all women on stage doing monologues and singing some songs and performing parts of their like one woman shows, and it was what inclusivity really looks like.
You should get a stage at Black Pride. I mean, I know that it's
I know it's officially yesterday.
Yeah.
That will be amazing for next year.
Yeah.
Hey, Lady Phil.
Tag them.
Yes, Lady Phil. We've got Black Girl Fest coming up, I think in October, so we'll be doing bits for that. Hopefully, need to apply, but putting it out there, speaking into existence. But so if you are a black woman actor and you are interested, and connect with us, that's it. Also, send us an email, blacktress.uk@hotmail.com. I think that's everything.
Yeah,
all the things.
All ways of getting covered. And we will make sure that we tag them all so that people can just see them on the description, the info, and they're not pausing the podcast to write down.
I know.
We'll tag everyone.
Okay, amazing.
I think that's a perfect way to end. We've just got to move on to our feminist phase.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you've mentioned so many already. You're just like throwing them in there. Like you've already name dropped Bell Hooks, Audrey Lorde.
Yes.
So is there anything that you want to particularly recommend to the listeners? Maybe something they might not have heard of, or
okay, so check out for queer poetry. I'm still on my pride high. Stacey Anchin, she's amazing. She resides in Brooklyn, New York at the moment, but she's originally from Jamaica and she lives in America now. But she was at Black Pride yesterday. Stacey Anchin, incredible. And if you're not familiar with Audrey Lorde, oh my gosh, please read Sister Outsider, read the Cancer Journals, read any of her poetry. It's life-changing. It's really kind of helped me through some really difficult times. Also, another book. So I'm kind of giving a list of like amazing black queer poetry and literature. There's a book that was recently released this year, which was supported by UK Black Pride, which is called Sister. And if you don't know about that, it's an anthology of black women loving black women, of also non-binary people as well. So check that out. There's some and it's specifically from a British perspective as well, which is really, really important. And I was reading some of there's like a conversation with Ricky Beadle Blair and his mom, Auntie Monica, and she was like a really active activist in the 70s and 80s, lesbian scene, and she kind of talks about what it's like, and she's like in her 80s now, she's amazing. So and you've got poetry and stuff like that. So Sister, and what else? Sorry, I already said Audrey Lorde. Oh, I'm reading this book at the moment, but I already recommend it. It's called All About Love, Bell Hooks, New Visions. And it's just talking about the importance of love and how we incorporate love into social justice and how it is the core of a movement.
It's essential reading list. I feel like it's very on brand for Joan as well.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, that's part of my okay, guys, if you're listening, cast of Fun Home, you're going to get a reading list, and there's going to be actual poetry as well that Joan will be giving out, because that was her thing, poetry, isn't it? So,
oh my god.
Yeah.
This cast is so lucky to
have you. Gotta give them some queer history.
Yeah. They're so lucky. This was so amazing.
Nice little chat, isn't it?
Yeah, so fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much to Sherelle, Yami and Lisa.
Yeah, so many feminist faves.
I know. I can't wait to go and look them up. Actually, I've looked up some of them already. You should definitely check them out because they are amazing.
Yes, so due to the bumper amount of guests and feminist faves in this episode, we're gonna, for our recommendations, unusually, we're gonna direct you straight over to our blog, which is bechdaletheatre.blogspot.co.uk, where we've made a massive list, 19 shows, so you don't want to hear us read them all out, of shows that we think you should go and see at Edinburgh Fringe. Obviously, we're going to the Fringe, and we're going to be updating you constantly while we're there. So we'll be on the Twitter and the Instagram, and we'll be updating the blog with some more entries of shows that we catch while we're there. But these are the ones that we know about already, that we think that, I mean, it's including Hot Brown Honey, it's including some shows that we've already seen before in previews. Oh, one more thing. Our crowdfunder. So we are crowdfunding to go to Edinburgh Fringe, and if you're an artist with no money, please, we don't expect you to donate. We get enough from you already, but please, we do really want you to share and create a massive buzz around our crowdfunder page. It's crowdfunder.co.uk/Bechdel Theatre, and we're trying to raise £2,150, which will pay for us and our stickers to go up to Edinburgh Fringe to highlight the shows that pass the Bechdel test and amplify underrepresented voices. So you can do us a huge favour by sharing it and, you know, spreading the word to everyone you know.
But that's enough of us, I think, for one episode. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Subscribe, like and subscribe. Give us 5
like
stars.
and subscribe. Okay,
Bye.